are back. Joining me today, a special treat. Greg is being the dutiful son again this week. And my good friend and adorable Spitfire actress, Kendra Montagna, is sitting here playing my cinematic sidekick today.
Yay! Hi, you guys. Welcome to Behind the Lens.
This is so fun for me because I've known Kendra for a number of years, been watching her career slowly, move up the ladder, and everything that she does as an actress to promote herself, to get herself out there. And she'll be talking about some of that. She'll also be talking about Comic-Con Behind the Lens.
Comic-Con 2015. Such an experience.
And some really great guests today at 11:15. Byron Beane, producer Byron Beane, and actress Erin Fritch will be calling in to talk again about Living the Dream. Yes, we're still living the dream again this week on Behind the Lens. Last week, you may recall, we had the Spurlock sisters, Mai and Kim, writers, creators, directors of Living the Dream, this new web series that is absolutely hilarious. So I can't urge you strongly enough to go and watch it. It's livingthedream.tv.
Yep.
And I can't wait for the next group. I've seen all 8 episodes already.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious. And as you mentioned earlier, the production value.
Yeah, really high quality. They're shorter episodes, which, for some of us have a shorter attention span, so it's really nice.
No, a shorter available time span.
Yes.
So, but we'll be talking to Byron and Erin, and then a very timely and very topical interview. We're going to have director Victor Buhler calling in to talk about his documentary, A Whole Lot More. I say timely and topical because the documentary, KCET picked it up, and it is currently airing on KCET. It is streaming as well as on air, live on television, on its various channels. You can also, the link, kcet.org, and you can find it in there. It is a very powerful documentary on the developmentally disabled community, particularly focusing on Lott Industries in Toledo, Ohio. And this week is on the 25th. We kick off the Special Olympics. Mm-hmm. And then on the 26th marks the 25th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So this is going to be really interesting talking to Victor and his backstory as to how he even came to do this documentary. Is talk about the power of a personal touch.
Yeah, very inspiring.
And watching it, we'll talk about how he selected the individuals that he selected to focus in on in the documentary, and the tack that he took and the point of view that he took, which is something that we haven't really seen, and raises the issues of integrating into the community, into society, or staying segregated in their own little world of work and company and friends. So there's a lot of eye-opening things in the doc, and I know Victor's going to be able to shed some light on a lot of that. Then we're going to hear more from Peyton Reed and Ant-Man.
Marvel.
Kendra's very excited over Marvel and Ant-Man.
I'm sorry. I'm still coming off Comic-Con.
Well, how can you not get excited about Marvel? I mean, Ant-Man opened this weekend, $58 million. It took the box office, #1. It is the 12th Marvel film to open at #1.
Awesome. They're not doing too bad.
They're not doing too bad. Knock on wood. My Disney stock appreciates that. So keep going. And of course, once again, when you see the video of our show, you will see we are surrounded by Disney and Marvel and Avengers. But also this week, when you watch on the video, you all know that I'm a very big proponent of literacy and reading and books and movies. And when you have tie-ins, I always say read the book, then see the movie.
Right.
If you haven't done it in that order, that's okay. Go back and read the book. And with this being summer vacation and so many teens at home, rather than playing on video games or going to the mall, which I know a lot of you are still doing, there's some great books out there. You've probably seen the movies. Classics: A Little Princess, Anne of Green Gables, Little Women, Treasure Island, Secret Garden. These are beloved classics for the ages. All have been made into superlative films.
Mm-hmm.
So if you really want to have a nice entertainment package laying out by the pool, grab one of these books. By the way, you can get all of them at Target for $1 a piece.
$1. Pinocchio is even here.
Pinocchio, yes.
Yeah.
But, some of the most beloved stories of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, Little Women, that's had 4 incarnations as a film now.
Mm-hmm.
A Little Princess has had a couple, with the seminal one being Shirley Temple.
Yep.
Treasure Island, there have been many incarnations of that. Secret Garden, there have been 3 or 4, and they've spawned some sequels that have been on BBC and on other. Most of the best Secret Garden adaptations have been by the BBC and by the Brits. And of course, Tom Sawyer. There is a plethora.
Yes. Jonathan Taylor Thomas at one point, wasn't he in there?
He did one.
Really?
There was just at LA Film Festival, A Band of Robbers, which is essentially the grown-up Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn interpretation. So a lot of good reading, a lot of good movies. So if you just want to kick back at home, not even go to the theater, and catch up.
Cheaper, only $1.
Catch up on your classics, lay out by the pool, take your portable DVD player with you, stream the movie, or take your phone, stream it on Netflix, and entertain and improve your mind.
Yes. Can't have a good movie without a good story. And the stories are right there for $1.
See? That's, and that's so true. I'm glad you mentioned that, because you have to have a good story. Mm-hmm. George Clooney has said that countless times over the years, that you can have terrible performances.
Right. You
can have technical problems. But if you don't have a good script, a good story to start with, and then a good script.
You can't ice a bad cake. You
know?
know?
And you as an actress, when you're looking at scripts,
right,
is that a determining factor for you quite often?
It is. I try to use my imagination as much as possible, so I'm pretty welcoming to the content that is being offered, because I just want to use my skills in some form. But yes, I feel very privileged when it's a piece that I love the story and I want to convey it, and I think people will be positively affected by it.
Well, and you talk about using your skills. For those that are not familiar, go find a lovely web series that I executive produced that was written and directed by Ned Airbar.
Co-op of the Damned.
Co-op of the Damned. You will see Kendra, one of my favorite zombie performances ever.
Yes, I do make a good zombie, don't I?
You do. But beyond making a good zombie, you just had a heck of a time at Comic-Con behind the scenes.
I did. I was hired by NBC to work their Heroes events. They're coming back on the air September 24th. It's Heroes Reborn. They're bringing some of the cast back. I don't think Hayden will be back because she is, of course, signed with Nashville. But I have a feeling she's going to show up later in the series for a couple episodes.
Okay.
Just as kind of a surprise. But it was really neat. All the cast came in. They did the 4D event. It was packed. I worked there 4 days, 12-hour days. Mm-hmm. And there was just a line outside from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day.
So what kind of events did Heroes Reborn have going?
Well, they built an outside venue. They called it the Black Hole. They offered 2 different events. They had a 4D experience, which they built a virtual reality zone where you could go in and your superpower was fire, and you just, stood in front of the video screen and the floor shook and there was smoke. And if any of you like arcade games, it was really fun. I may have done it twice.
Only twice?
Only twice. I had to be proactive and work. But it was cool. And SoCal Green Screen set up green screens and had a live event where they took your picture behind the green screen was behind you, and they photoshopped in fire as a live action animation. And so it looked like, your superpower was fire. And it was all free. It was all NBC paid for it. And They gave out free stuff. They paid for everything.
Now, was this your first time at Comic-Con?
It was.
So to be your first time, because I saw some of the short little videos that you were taking when you had a break and you would wander around. How does it compare when you know what's going on behind the scenes as to what the public sees when they just show up there?
Well,
does that take away from the magic or from the awe?
No, not at all for me. It was an experience, and it was exciting to see people get excited, you know? It's just kind of amazing to see imagination bring that many people together. And for the most part, it was extremely positive. The only thing that brought it down, in my perspective, was the picketing. There was religious picketing, and that was the only thing that brought down the vibe.
Now, was the picketing for the Heroes Reborn show or just in general?
Just in general. Like it was just religious picketing.
At Comic-Con?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
See people having fun. It's just, I don't know, I guess you have that everywhere, but other than that, people were in a great mood. Everyone had good attitudes. Everyone's there just to kind of be a kid, you know?
Now, would you go back again? I know you'd go back again to work.
Yeah.
To work the events. But would you go back just as a fan?
I was really interested in seeing some of the panels. I'm a huge fan of Harley Quinn. I would really love, you know, to see some of that memorabilia inside. And they even had an episode of SpongeBob that they read live. I don't know. I find that stuff so interesting, and you don't get to see that anywhere else. It's just, I don't know. I love San Diego anyway because it's so bright and it's green and there's nature, and it's just nice to be out of the city, away from the bumper-to-bumper traffic, you know?
But you had bumper-to-bumper getting there.
No, actually, once you got out of the city, people give you like a car space room.
You know, you're learning all these great things here today that you'll never hear anywhere else.
Nowhere else. Thank you for tuning in.
So, it is a thumbs up, a definite flames up.
Flames up. As soon as I got on the trolley at 7 a.m. for the first day, I was already excited. I met great people the whole time. And, you know, I met with them, and now I'm Facebook friends with them. One actually brought me a signed Harley Quinn doll from the convention just because I met them on the trolley and I took their picture, and they were just stoked about the day. They were the most animated people I've ever met. But yeah, it was a great experience. People are just there to have fun and celebrate, you know, their childhood characters.
So, in other words, they were all there living the dream.
They were living in your imagination, nurture your creative nature.
Well, we're going to live in the dream right now.
Yeah, we are.
Are you there, Byron Beane?
I'm here, Debbie. How are you?
I'm fine. And let's see. Brian is going to tie Erin in right now. Erin, are you there?
I'm here.
Yay!
Oh,
hi
yeah.
guys. For everybody.
Hi, Byron. Hi, Debbie.
Hi.
For everybody listening, we have joining us today producer Byron Beane of Livin the Dream and Erin Fritch, who plays Leslie in Livin the Dream. And guys, playing here with me today, Livin the Dream, is my actor friend, Kendra Montagna, who you should probably look at one day, Byron. Just saying.
Oh, fun.
Hi,
All right.
Byron.
Hi.
So,
Hi, Kendra.
Hi, Erin.
So, Byron, you already know how much I love the show. I sent you my thoughts on this before I even sent it to the publicist.
Yeah. Yep.
How did you, and this is so spot on. This is such a spot on show. It is so inside baseball with the industry, but it is so true. And then it's laced with this great wit and sarcasm and humor. How did you become involved in this project?
Well, Kim, originally when I was in casting, Kim Spurlock had sent a film script of hers to us. I loved it so much. I've been following her since then, and that was about 4 years ago. And her sister brought to me this web series and said, listen, you know, her career wasn't going the way it sort of was at a standstill with her being a writer-director. And she sent this web series that was essentially about her life. And so when I read it, you know, a lot of people say, write what you know about. And she knew about this, and she knew about what it meant to her. And her writing partner, Mai Spurlock, her sister, hit the nail on the head with what Kim was going through, and also some of the behind the scenes of what was happening in the business. And it just rang true with me because I encounter that a lot, and it just struck a chord, and I loved it so much, and it just flowed from there.
Now, Byron, because you have gone up through, you know, the casting, you and I have both known so many of the same actors, directors over the years. Do you see the web series, has this opened up a whole new gamut for you as a producer and then for actors like Erin?
Oh, for sure. I mean, this platform has opened a lot of doors for a lot of producers and actors. For me, it's more about a lot of creative control. You know, a lot of people have projects and they'll go to these networks that will essentially take control over it to sort of manipulate the project. But in the web world, I feel that there's so much more control for the creatives. And for me to be able to explore more and to be able to
content
find more actors.
Now, Erin, you play the character of Leslie, who just happens to be a producer in Livin the Dream.
Go figure. I know.
Now, I have to ask you here, just anyone you might have modeled your tactics and techniques off of, you know, in honing in on this role.
Oh, that's funny. Well, Byron, you know I love you. You know, I feel like there's a little Byron in there, for sure. I mean, Leslie's like the kind of stereotypical Hollywood go-getter type A. She wants to get it done. She's got a lot on her plate. You know, I think she really does have a good heart and believes in the script and in Kit, but, you know, she wants to get it done. And, I mean, there's definitely that side in Byron, and I'm a bit of a type A myself, so brought out a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Now, did you audition for the role of Leslie?
I did. You know, Byron, because he, you know, had the script and really was in love with it, kind of brought it to me first and said, I just want you to take a look at this. It's this new web series, and there's a role in here that just feels very close to you, and just take a look at it. So I did, and I really fell in love with the character, and came in and read for Kim and the rest of the, you know, production team, and Byron kind of removed himself, if I'm remembering correctly, from the situation, kind of brought me to the table and then stepped back from it since he is my manager as well. And it just worked out, you know, it was a good fit.
Because now people, when they see the series, they're going to recognize you from, you know, House of Cards, The Good Wife, and for those really ancient of us, you know, going all the way back to soaps, because you were in 2 different soaps, actually.
Way back in the day.
Way back in the day. Way back in the day. How do you find, in picking the properties that you're taking now, the roles that you're taking, you come out of the soap world, you've done theater and stage on Broadway. What do you look for? Because you've got something like House of Cards, you've got something like The Good Wife, and then you have something like Livin the Dream.
Living the Dream, I can honestly say, and Leslie, to me, that's the kind of character that I've been waiting to play. There's parts of her that are similar to Corey Gratter, the role I played on Broadway in Barefoot in the Park, but in terms of television and screen, I really enjoy kind of fast-talking, complex, kind of neurotic, quirky characters. And I feel like I've kind of amassed a handful of dramatic roles over the years, and this was a real kind of delight to play something a little lighter and quirkier.
Yeah, this is a definite departure from what you're most known for.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of the work that I've done up to this point, it is a departure, but something that, you know, Byron and I had talked about a lot, something that I was really eager to play, you know, this kind of quirkier role.
Now, Byron, because you're wearing two hats here, you're Erin's manager. You're also one of the producers on Livin the Dream.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever find it challenging there in terms of having to take the hats on and off? It's like you have a client that, and not just with Livin the Dream, but with any property that might come around.
I do. I mean, I always look at projects. When I have the producer hat on, I'll look at the project and look and see who is exactly right for the part. I mean, I know that a lot of, sometimes you have managers that will want to put their clients in roles in projects, and I commend them for that, to get them work. But sometimes it just doesn't serve the script. They may just have some sort of nuance that doesn't really fit the character.
Right.
For me, when I read the script and knowing Erin and where we were sort of taking her trajectory of acting, I sort of had to put on both the manager and the producer hat and sort of say, listen, this is a character that is exactly you. This is, you could do a lot with this. And I know that this was a ballpark that she could play in and really, really do well. And it showed on the series. And I sort of take that from my casting background. It's sort of in casting, you have a problem and you have to have the solution for the problem. You have a problem with finding someone, but your solution is finding the exactly right person that walks into the room and goes, yes, that's the person. So for me, I've been fortunate enough to have that experience to know that when I have the producer hat on, that's what I'm looking for. It doesn't necessarily mean that a client of mine could play that role, but if the client is perfect for that role, then I'll approach them and say, listen, this is great for you.
Now, when you're looking at properties to produce, what kind of considerations do you have for that? Because I know you produced community therapy, you did one up on an I Spy open mic. What draws you into those? When do you decide to say, okay, I'll put on the producer hat and come on board?
There's a few elements. Story for me is number one, and the connection from the writer and the director in that story. There's always property that people bring you that people say, hey, there's a great story here. We have a great team. We have this. But there's something about the right connection, the alignment between all the creative and the story. And then when you get in the room and the collaboration, you feel it. And you feel the energy and you say, and from something from inside of you says, yes, I want to be involved in this. There's also on the business side in your mind where you go, okay, I can also deliver the pragmatic side of this. I can find, I have the idea of what casting directors would be great for this. I already have an idea of what actors would be good for this. There's a couple of factors. I mean, it's certainly more on the creative side for me, the collaboration and what hits me and what instinctually do I look at. And when I hear the story and I'll go, oh, great, this is good. I love the team and I love what it means to the writer and the director. That's sort of what happened with Livin the Dream, too.
So where do both of you see Livin the Dream going beyond episode 8? I'm chomping at the bit. I am chomping at the bit. I'm chomping. I mean, I want to see so much more of this. That Byron, I'll even talk to you about investing in more.
The production quality is really, really good. I watched a little bit of it, and I saw your guys' trailer. And the comedy is really fun, too. There's nothing better than comedy.
Oh, when comedy is done right,
yes.
it makes me happy. And I think that's what a lot of people bank on. When web series, when you have a comedic web series, and you do it right, the production value is there, the comedy is there, and it's not so broad that it takes you out. But something like Broad City is great because these girls are these girls, and that's what their situational comedy makes it funny. But sometimes you can see a web series that just sort of falls a little flat because there's something about either the chemistry, the connection, or the comedy isn't there. But that's, when you watch this, it's great. I mean, the comedy is there, but past this season, that's sort of that's in the head of Mai and Kim. They kind of have an idea of where they want to go with it. I'm Debbie. I'm with you. I'm chomping at the bit. I'm like, let's get this next season because I just want to read scripts. And see what happens.
I am dying. Hey, I'm actually waiting to see if Kit gets a hippie voodoo Barbie doll that is made to look like Leslie because Leslie abandoned her. You know.
Seriously.
You know.
I know. I want to know if they come back together. I mean, it's the best cliffhanger. It ends so well. It really leaves you hanging.
I mean, it just, and you know, and I have to, I mean, and the hippie voodoo doll, the hippie Barbie voodoo doll is just the greatest thing. And I really think that the girls need to write in another doll that is a Leslie voodoo doll so that she and Barbie can sit in matching martini glasses and commiserate together.
Have happy hour together.
Well, you know I'm all about the happy hour, Byron.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a happy hour.
Oh, such a full circle moment, Debbie.
Yes, and I have Kendra sitting here now, who is part of the next full circle moment.
Oh, funny.
At the backstage, yes.
Backstage Bar and Grill in Culver City. Doing a little shout out. Little plug.
Culver City represent.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So where would you like to see your character of Leslie go, Erin?
I would like to see Leslie not quite having it all together. Something that happens that you get to see maybe a less together side of Leslie.
Mm-hmm.
So what else are you working on now while you're waiting for the next episodes to be written?
Mm-hmm.
I know. Well, I actually just had a baby.
Congratulations.
4 months ago. So I am working on motherhood at the moment.
And Byron, what does that do to you as a manager when your client decides to just willy-nilly go have a baby?
Willy-nilly.
She's dropped. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's. I love it because one, it's a function of the life of an actress. So that if they when they choose to have a family, that happens. What I've noticed and what I love about that too is and I've had this actually happen with a couple of clients and other actresses that have started a family, is that they come back and there's so much more in their
ready to go
lives of an actress because they're just kind of like families first. And when they go into a room and audition in front of a casting or producers, it's kind of like it's not that it's not at the front of their mind, it's just that it's a little more of a comfortable experience because they're just like, great, well, the pressure's kind of taken off and the focus is taken off of being like, I have to be an actress. This is what I do. And
absolutely. That's exactly it. And we've just started, I'm just back auditioning again, for the past couple of weeks, which feels wonderful. Yeah. So I'm super excited, to get that next project. But Byron's right. It definitely changes things. And it's kind of full circle for me. I was actually 3 months pregnant when we shot Livin the Dream and not quite showing yet, so nobody knew. And it was kind of a really special time for me. So the project in general is just very near and dear to my heart.
Oh, well, then maybe we can have a cute little hippie baby doll.
I mean, maybe Leslie gets pregnant, who knows?
Who knows?
And it messes up her world.
And try and balance
work with that little change, that unexpected change.
So what do you have coming up next, Byron, that you're working on? Anything?
Well, we're working on Kim's next script. I have to toot her horn a little bit because she's incredible. She is a writer that she won the Student Academy Award in 2010. I mean, literally, awesome. Livin the Dream is this story about her life, and the particular project that she's talking about, Blood and the Tears, in the show, is actually a feature film project that came across our desk in 2010 with the casting director I was working with at the time. I loved it. We garnered a lot of attention from agencies at the top 5 companies and bankable actors that really wanted to be in this film. And she had another project called Case of the Dismals that, I hope I'm not butchering this, but it actually got selected out of 800 screenplays in the world. as a top 15 at the Venice Film Festival Biennial College.
That's awesome.
So it was one of their creative incubators, and her script got top 15 out of 800 in the world. She has this knack for this voice of this very independent, female-driven, strong, Southern through line in her projects that just kind of, I don't know, it's just a very unique voice. So we're working on that script next. It's a micro-budget film, Case of the Dismals. We're working on that one to start pre-production. We're shooting for October. And she wants to go back to her hometown in West Virginia to shoot it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful script. I can't wait for it. And I really can't wait for her to get her voice heard more out in the independent film community. It's a voice that needs to be heard. And it's one that I think will make waves.
Well, if she stays hooked up with you, there is no doubt in my mind that people will be talking about her in vast numbers. Because I know when you believe in something and you get behind it, you will go to the ends for it.
Oh, yeah. That's very true.
Guys, I can't thank you enough for calling in today. And I can't wait for the next 8 episodes. I can't wait to see what other roles you get cast in, Erin.
Thank you so much.
And Byron, you and I are going to be talking, boy.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll talk soon about it more.
Definitely. Thank you so much, and everybody can watch this at livinthedream.tv.
Yep. Thank you, Debbie.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you
Nice
so much.
meeting you.
Bye.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. Behind the Lens is sponsored in part by the Culver City Observer. Located in the heart of Screenland, Culver City Observer is available in print and online at www.culvercityobserver.com. And welcome back to Behind the Lens. I'm Debbie Lynn Elias, sitting here sidekick with me today.
Kendra Montagna.
Oh my God. And if you're listening, you just heard from producer Byron Beane and actress Erin Fritch talking about Living the Dream, a great new web series that's out there. I can't recommend it highly enough. It is just, it's fabulous.
It's a great comedy.
Fabulously funny. LivinTheDream.tv on the internet.
Check it out.
And now I am absolutely privileged and thrilled to have with us Victor Buhler. Hello, Victor. Welcome to Behind the Lens.
Hi, Victor.
Hi. Hi there. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, thanks.
Thank you so much for calling in and joining us today to talk about A Whole Lot More. This documentary it's amazing. It is true. It's an amazing documentary, Victor. You answer questions, but you make us all ask a lot more questions, and you present issues with a point of view that we haven't really seen before. And the timing, this is very timely. As I said at the top of the show, this is very timely and topical, considering this is the subjects are the developmentally disabled. On the 25th, the Special Olympics opens in Los Angeles. Michelle Obama will be present for that. And on the 26th marks the 25th anniversary of the ADA. How fortuitous is this timing and KCET running this documentary?
Yes. No, it is 25th anniversary. The ADA is big. The Special Olympics is always a wonderful organization. And yeah, absolutely. It's, I mean, it's a very timely too, because in many ways, the kind of landscape of work for people with developmental disabilities is really evolving now more than ever. And there's a lot of questions, like you mentioned, that are being asked about what is the best, how can we create more employment opportunities for people with disabilities as a whole, but with developmental disabilities in particular. And those questions, there's some hard questions, because the systems that the people have relied on to a degree for many years are having to adapt or change, or sometimes, in many cases, close down.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of like unknowns right at the moment, and there's a lot of people with family members, with people with developmental disabilities, who really aren't quite sure what the next step, what the future holds. And people with with the disabilities themselves are asking themselves some tough questions. So there's a lot of like very exciting things on the horizon, but there's a lot of like questions being asked right at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, something I find very interesting is how you even got involved in this project.
Mm-hmm.
This stems from your own injuries as a result of an accident, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I'm not alone, because I think a lot of people who care about disability issues have had an experience in their lives or a family member that really kind of connects them to, even briefly sometimes, or what it's like to live with a disability. And I had an experience where I was in a very nearly fatal car crash, and I was in a wheelchair for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And going through that experience really sort of opened my eyes to basically how, I hate to say it, but in many senses, we forget how many people with disabilities there are in America,
Mm-hmm.
and really how excluded a lot of them are from our workplace.
Right.
A question that I started to ask myself and then started asking other people is, how many people with disabilities are in your workplace? Do you work with? How many do you interact with on a regular basis? And the answer can be not as many as you think.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, how did you end up getting involved with Lott Industries and Joan Brown? The whole concept of Lott and Toledo, Ohio, it's not a place that I would think that you would be looking for a story.
Well, Toledo, so basically the premise of A Whole Lot More is that for many years, this one particular factory was very successful making car parts, mostly for Ford, but for many auto companies. And what was unique about it is that it employed only people with developmental disabilities. And in a sense, it was kind of one of the shining examples of a workshop. And people were well paid, and people had lots of work. And it basically sort of, the people who worked there felt they were auto workers. They felt they were part of a larger whole of that industry there. And Toledo, for those who don't know, is basically right outside of Detroit. So it's really in the sort of hub of the Motown, of the classic Motor City, USA. And so what I read a story about was that basically with the decline of the auto industry 5 years ago, this factory was in trouble. And the 1,500 people who worked at this factory, all of them had developmental disabilities, were seeing their paychecks decrease, were struggling to make ends meet. And basically, it was a story that sort of told me something about the American economy and the future of the American economy, but also, made me think about what happens in tough times to really, in many ways, the most vulnerable members of our society.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Things can change in a second.
They certainly can. Now, I love how you give us the broad picture of Lott Industries. A lot of that is through Joan, the former director. But then you hone in on three individuals. Wanda, who I can easily see how you honed in on Wanda.
She honed in on me, actually.
She is amazing, an amazing woman. And then TJ is just one of the greatest loves in the world. And Kevin, his desire for independence outside the system, so to speak. I mean, they're varied. They're varied in their degree and type of developmental disability, but they each bring so much to the story and to life in general. Mm-hmm. What led you to each of them, or what led Wanda to you?
Yeah, you're very kind of. Thank you for your comments. And you're right. Those three people they're just amazing. And I mean, Wanda sort of runs the show there. So when I arrived with my camera on the first day, Wanda came over, basically walked up to me and said, "Hey, what's going on?" And from the moment you met her, she's kind of like she's sort of like the Rosie the Riveter character in a way of Lott. She's constantly trying to get things done and motivate the troops, if you will, and she's just got a spark that you can't kind of ignore.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say with all three characters, what really struck me is how badly each of them really wants to play a role and be included and work, and how much hard work means to them, and how they see it as a value. I mean, none, you know, Wanda, TJ, and Kevin, none of them really wanted any handouts. They really wanted to earn their way, and they were looking for a path to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, and one of the interesting that we see, especially with TJ, whose cerebral palsy it's very advanced, very progressed. He's always lived at home with his parents, and even he is worried about his parents. They're worried about him, but he's also worried about them.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, he'd like to move out on his own, but what will happen to them if he goes away?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if they might lose part of their purpose.
Mm.
And you capture this so beautifully just by letting them talk, letting them communicate. Because I know TJ likes to use that communicate because that's very difficult for him, but he communicates so beautifully.
Oh, yes, I couldn't agree more. He's very eloquent in his own method of communication, and he's a very compassionate guy. You know, he's sort of a prisoner of his own body in many ways, with cerebral palsy, and he's also deaf. So, you know, his cerebral palsy makes his sign language harder for some deaf people to kind of register. So he does have communication problems, but in a way, he's always listening. And he's a very keen listener, and he really picks up on people's body language, and he's got a very instinctual kind of feel for other people. And I think that comes across when you meet him and when you get to know him, just what an empathetic soul he has.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you learn sign language in order to communicate with TJ during the filming, or did you have a signer there interpreting for you?
I did try to learn. Yeah, I can't say I did a wonderful job, but I sort of have got the basics down. It's beautiful language, and I'd never really learned any of it before. And I really encourage anyone to try and even pick up some basics, because you realize what an expressive language it is. Mm-hmm. And no, that was fun to sort of like pick up on something and then sort of build a conversation with him. I was very proud of myself to be able to sort of carry on when I sort of started to understand what he was trying to tell me.
Now, did any of them have any kind of trepidation about having the camera turned on? Something tells me Wanda was very open to talking about anything you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, Wanda loves the spotlight, and she was sort of born to be in it. And I think TJ, he's basically the Michael Jordan of bocce ball. He's the greatest bocce ball player America has ever produced.
And he's competed in the Paralympics.
Yeah, awesome.
4 Paralympics.
Yeah, so he's in many ways he's himself in that light, and with good reason, you know. And then I think Kevin was in many ways the hardest character to kind of persuade to be on camera, and I think that was he's still obviously just a shy character, and but what was amazing with Kevin is the longer you spent with him, you realize just how deep he runs, and have these amazing conversations about Greek mythology, or he'd suddenly come to me in a panic, and he'd have to talk about music from the 1980s, and he'd list out the songs that he was listening to.
Oh.
And so like we'd have these really moments of connection, and suddenly it became, you know, more like a friendship. And then occasionally I'd pick up my camera and ask him what was going on, or he'd have a job interview, so he kind of knew that it was time to do some filming. And all three of them I'm still pretty close with, which is one of the great blessings of making this kind of documentary.
Oh, well, I can easily see why you would still be close with them, because each is just as engaging and as warm as the next.
Strong individuals.
Very much so. How long was the actual filming process? How long was this shot over?
Yeah, it took a little longer. I mean, the amazing thing with documentaries or any film is sort of like raising the funding for them these days. And so we kind of went initially, and we had to sort of make the film in parts. I knew that when Lott closed one of its main factories, that was a big time and big marker that I had to be there for that. And so it basically took about 1.5 years to shoot.
Oh, wow.
All in. So, various phases.
How much footage did you have to go through in the editing process?
Oh, probably too much. I mean, one thing that was really tricky to do is because in the disability community, there's such a mixed regard to a place like Lott, which is called a sheltered workshop by some. And there's a big call to close sheltered workshops around the country, partly because they paid sometimes less than minimum wage, partly because of the nature of the work that's done in sheltered workshops. Now, Lott, for many years, had bucked that trend by paying very good wages and by having a lot of very meaningful work. They were building actual parts for Ford Explorers for many years. And but one thing that sort of was very delicate in the editing process was kind of how to tell the story of a sheltered workshop, but also include the idea of community work and basically where Kevin goes in the story. He desperately tries to find a job out in the main community, but it's, even for him, with all his strength, to struggle.
Right.
And obviously, he has he's on the autism spectrum, so that's a challenge as well. But the great thing about the film is just in the nick of time, he found a very nice job at Best Buy.
Oh, wonderful.
Is he still there?
Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Way to go, Kevin.
Yay, Kevin.
And something that really touched me in here, because I spent many years in law and actually working with a preeminent ADA attorney. And so I've seen two sides of the coin, and I've actually worked with side by side with some of the disabled, the physically disabled and the developmentally disabled. And the key, they're just people, just like you and me. And I think your camera really lets everyone see that.
Oh, thanks. Thank you very much.
Now,
yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Now, what are the plans for, a whole lot more? Will it now just, stay in the KCET family? Will it go on to DVD or digital download so that more people can see it?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the moment it's streaming on KCET and also Link TV, and then also it's available on wholelotmore.com, and lot is spelled with 2 T's, so a whole lot 2 T's more.com. And yes, we hopefully a bit on Netflix and iTunes shortly.
Congratulations.
Now, is there going to be any kind of tie-in with this documentary with any of the celebrations or events tied in with the ADA anniversary next week and the Olympics?
Well, nothing specific with the Olympics, but we are having a couple screenings coming up. We've got one in Ohio very soon, and definitely we'll be raising the flag, celebrating the 25th anniversary of the ADA, and trying to make as much noise about it as I'm sure you are as well, and everybody about what an important anniversary it is.
Yeah.
And what's next for you, Victor?
I'm making at the moment. I just finished working for National Geographic. My sort of day job is making television documentaries.
Oh, that's
and
exciting.
I'm off to the BBC to make a documentary about transgendered teens. So.
Oh my!
Interesting.
Another timely and topical.
Yes.
I mean,
very relevant, actually.
I mean, I saw your doc, Little in Looking for Love, and I saw Rikers High.
You did? Oh, wow. Thanks.
So, the minute that Caitlin sent me something on 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 A Whole Lot More, and I saw that was you, I was like, yes, I have to see this. I have to talk to Victor.
That's very kind. Thank you.
Because
Thank you. I appreciate that
you
a lot.
have your storytelling eye and letting the camera see rather than you making it see. It's a gift, and you are a very gifted storyteller with a lens, Victor, and this is one story that I am so glad you told.
Yeah, I commend you for taking an obstacle in your life and changing it into a positive platform for awareness. I know we all go through our own trials and tribulations, and it's important to find that silver lining and pull from it and move forward and affect other people in the best way that you can. And I was excited to hear about this. It's, I commend you for it. So,
well, thank you, ladies. You made my day. Thank you for your kind words. I appreciate it very much.
Victor, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that you will join us again when you get when your next project is done.
Yes, I would love to see it.
Yes,
I would absolutely love to see it. I love documentaries. I'm a big sucker for documentaries.
We both are. We both are.
Right on.
Victor, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again in the future.
Bye, Victor. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All the best.
So, Victor Buhler, writer, director, cinematographer of A Whole Lot More, streaming on linktv.com or .org. KCET has it.
Soon to be on Netflix.
Yes. So it's a very powerful documentary. It's a very emotional documentary when you watch it, and it's very uplifting. When you see these primarily three, you see other workers in the lot industry who are there in the background, and the camera picks up their comments, but you see their pride when they do something well done. And you hear them when they find out that the telegraph facility is being shut down, and they're going to be disseminated elsewhere. And they're worried about, will I have enough work?
Yeah.
That's one of the striking things that you see in this documentary. So I cannot, this is an amazing, amazing story. Everybody should see it, especially, with the ADA anniversary, with the Special Olympics. And yes, and boy, oh boy, I wonder if TJ is going to go and compete in the next Paralympic Games.
Yes, I really want to watch this and see how Kevin is doing and see if he gets excited when he gets his job.
Oh, wait till you see.
I want to see.
And then if you go to the KCET website, there are additional clips there on each of the three that are not in the documentary.
Really?
So
I'll have to check that out later today.
So it's absolutely fabulous. Well, since we're getting near the end of the show, I think we'll speed along to that delightful #1 Marvel film, Ant-Man.
Ant-Man!
And pick up where we left off last week with Peyton Reed. Last week we heard Peyton talk about the science of ants, because I'm a nerd and I had to ask him that.
I'm a nerd too. We're in a room full of nerds right now.
But Peyton also talked about some of the effects in Ant-Man, the shrinking concept, which, as 90% of you out there have already seen the film, so there's no big secret here. But here's what he had to say about shrinking and the special effects that went into Ant-Man.
In terms of the shrinking, I went back and watched all the shrinking movies. There's a long cinematic history of shrinking: Incredible Shrinking Man, Incredible Shrinking Woman, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, of course. Honey, I Shrunk the Audience pre-show at Disney. All of them. But we were making sort of what would be the definitive shrinking movie of 2015, and the sort of drum I kept banging was it's got to look photorealistic. You can't have a movie where when you're in the normal world, it's realistic. When you go down, it feels like an animated movie. It had to look photorealistic. And Jake Morrison, who's our visual effects supervisor, we spent a lot of time together and talked about how we were going to achieve it and how we were going to shoot it, and what lenses we use. What does the world look and sound like when you're down there? When you see dust particles floating around, how does the light play? And I'm really, really happy with where we ended up, because it was in a movie like Ant-Man, it's got to look real, and that applied to the ants too. I mean, that was really one of the challenges, is creating ants that looked photoreal. but also giving them some real character, and particularly in the case of Anthony, the idea that we're going to create sort of a Roy Rogers Trigger or Lone Ranger Silver relationship between Ant-Man, because in the comics, that's one of the iconic images is Ant-Man flying around on an ant, and I wanted to embrace that. So I was thrilled with where we ended up in the visual effects. And again, one of the things about Marvel is you're just surrounded by the top people, in all the fields. But in visual effects, they just did some amazing work.
And that photorealism is extremely photorealistic.
Really?
It is fabulous. It truly is. But as everybody is finding out with Ant-Man, the heart and soul is the idea of hero and daddies and daughters. Mm-hmm. And here's what Peyton had to say about the heart of Ant-Man.
With regard to the father-daughter aspect, it was the thing that I hung the whole thing on. You can have a movie that has amazing effects, and this certainly has that, and brilliant visuals, a lot of action, humor, whatever. But whatever you see something that you can connect to, that's emotionally resonant, it stays with you in a very different way. I think that's the key to any movie, and that's what I thought about throughout this whole film. This is what the movie is about.
And it certainly is, that emotional resonance. We have emotional resonance in Living the Dream that makes you laugh. We have emotional resonance in A Whole Lot More that touches the heart, opens your eyes. And we have emotional resonance in Ant-Man that every daughter sees a hero in her daddy.
They do.
And that's the best part. And it looks like we're out of time again,
No,
almost.
is it over?
Yes. You will come back again?
I will come back for
You better.
sure.
You
I
better.
loved this show, Behind the Lens. I learned a lot, and I love hearing about new projects and people just going after their art. Love it.
It has been so fun having you here.
Thank
and
you
don't
for
forget,
having me.
people, it is Shark Week.
Shark Week.
The new Sharknado airs this week on Sci-Fi. Movie Shark Dublor has to get in a plug
Yes,
for sharks.
Obviously.
So that is it for us. We'll be back next week. Next week, I will have the directors from another documentary, Twinsters, joining us.